The National Electrical Code, specifically Article 300.4d, states that conductors of different systems, voltages, or uses shall not occupy the same electrical raceways, compartments, or enclosures unless specifically permitted. Further, Article 394.20 indicates that conductors of different electrical systems shall be separated by an approved barrier, or shall be so arranged that the conductors of each system are electrically isolated from those of any other system. In addition, Article 400.8 specifies that receptacle outlets shall not be used as junction boxes for line-to-line connections. Moreover, Article 820.43 states that telecommunications wiring shall be separated from other wiring systems by fire-resistant barriers. Lastly, Article 820.25b2 provides that telecommunications conductors shall not be placed in the same raceway, cable, or enclosure with conductors of electric light, power, or Class 1 circuits. These code requirements generally prohibit the installation of CAT5, which is a telecommunications cable, and coax, which is a cable television cable, in the same electrical box with a 120-volt receptacle. This is due to the difference in voltage and potential for interference between the low-voltage data cables and the high-voltage power circuit. The National Electrical Code mandates that such cables must be separated by an approved barrier, or installed in separate compartments or enclosures to maintain safety and prevent electrical interference. The primary reason for these regulations is to prevent potential hazards and ensure the safe and reliable operation of both power and communication systems. Firstly, the mixing of high and low voltage conductors in the same enclosure can lead to dangerous situations, such as electrical shock. If the insulation on the 120-volt wiring were to fail, it could energize the low-voltage cables, creating a shock hazard for anyone who comes into contact with them. Secondly, the presence of high-voltage wiring can introduce electrical noise and interference into the low-voltage communication cables. This interference can degrade the performance of the data network or cable television signal, leading to slow data transfer rates, dropped connections, or poor picture quality. Thirdly, the National Electrical Code aims to maintain the integrity and reliability of both the power and communication systems. By separating these systems, the code helps to prevent accidental damage or disruption to one system due to the other. For instance, if a fault were to occur in the 120-volt wiring, it could potentially damage the low-voltage cables if they were in close proximity. To comply with the National Electrical Code, there are several options for separating the high and low voltage wiring. One option is to use a barrier within the electrical box to physically separate the conductors. This barrier should be made of a non-conductive material and should be securely fastened to the box to prevent it from shifting or dislodging. Another option is to install the low voltage cables in a separate compartment or enclosure. This could involve using a multi-gang box with separate compartments for power and communication wiring, or it could involve installing a separate box specifically for the low voltage cables. When installing low voltage cables, it is important to maintain proper separation from power wiring throughout the entire run, not just within the electrical box. This means avoiding running low-voltage cables parallel to power wiring for extended distances, and using physical barriers or conduits to separate the cables where necessary. Furthermore, it is essential to use the correct type of cable and connectors for the application. For example, CAT5 cables should be rated for the environment in which they are installed, and they should be terminated with high-quality connectors to ensure a reliable connection. In addition to the National Electrical Code, there may be other local codes or regulations that apply to the installation of low-voltage wiring. It is important to check with the local authorities to ensure that you are in compliance with all applicable requirements. It is also worth noting that some manufacturers offer pre-wired boxes that are specifically designed to accommodate both power and communication wiring. These boxes typically include built-in barriers or separate compartments to ensure compliance with the National Electrical Code. These pre-wired boxes can save time and effort during installation, and they can also help to ensure that the wiring is properly separated and protected. It is important to choose a reputable manufacturer and to select a box that is appropriate for the specific application. When working with electrical wiring, it is always important to follow safe work practices. This includes energizing the circuit before working on it, using appropriate personal protective equipment, and following all applicable safety guidelines. If you are not comfortable working with electrical wiring, it is best to hire a qualified electrician to do the work. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, and it is important to take all necessary precautions to protect yourself and others. Violations of the National Electrical Code can result in fines, penalties, and even legal action. In addition, non-compliant installations can pose a safety hazard and can increase the risk of electrical shock or fire. Therefore, it is essential to ensure that all electrical work is performed in accordance with the National Electrical Code and all other applicable codes and regulations. To summarize, the National Electrical Code prohibits the installation of CAT5 and coax cables in the same electrical box with a 120-volt receptacle due to the difference in voltage and potential for interference. The cables must be separated by a barrier or installed in separate compartments or enclosures. By following these code requirements, you can ensure the safety and reliability of both the power and communication systems, and you can avoid potential fines and penalties. Always consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns about electrical wiring. The National Electrical Code is a comprehensive set of standards that covers a wide range of electrical installations. It is updated every 3 years to reflect changes in technology and to address new safety concerns. It is important to stay up to date with the latest edition of the National Electrical Code to ensure that your electrical installations are safe and compliant. The National Electrical Code is not law, but it is widely adopted by state and local governments as the basis for their electrical codes. In many jurisdictions, it is illegal to perform electrical work that does not comply with the National Electrical Code. Even in jurisdictions where the National Electrical Code is not legally binding, it is still considered to be a best practice to follow its recommendations. Following the National Electrical Code can help to ensure the safety and reliability of electrical installations, and it can also help to protect against liability in the event of an accident. There are many resources available to help you learn more about the National Electrical Code. The National Fire Protection Association, which publishes the National Electrical Code, offers a variety of training courses, publications, and other resources. There are also many online resources available, including websites, forums, and videos. It is important to use reliable sources of information when learning about the National Electrical Code and to consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns. In addition to the National Electrical Code, there are also other standards and guidelines that may apply to the installation of low-voltage wiring. These standards may be developed by organizations such as the Telecommunications Industry Association or the Electronic Industries Alliance. It is important to be aware of these other standards and guidelines and to follow them when appropriate. When planning an electrical installation, it is important to consider the specific requirements of the application. This includes factors such as the type of equipment being powered, the environmental conditions, and the potential for interference. By carefully considering these factors, you can design an electrical installation that is safe, reliable, and compliant with all applicable codes and standards. It is also important to document your electrical installations. This includes creating a wiring diagram, labeling all conductors and equipment, and keeping records of all inspections and tests. Proper documentation can help to ensure that the electrical installation is properly maintained and can also be useful in troubleshooting problems. Electrical safety is a shared responsibility. Everyone who works with electrical equipment should be aware of the potential hazards and should take steps to protect themselves and others. This includes following safe work practices, using appropriate personal protective equipment, and reporting any unsafe conditions. By working together, we can create a safer electrical environment for everyone. In Westchester County, New York, as with most jurisdictions, adherence to the National Electrical Code is paramount. Local amendments or interpretations may exist, so consulting with the local building department is always advisable. However, the fundamental principles of separating low voltage and high voltage wiring, as outlined in the NEC, remain consistent. This separation is not merely a suggestion, but a critical safety measure designed to prevent electrical hazards and ensure the proper functioning of electrical systems. Remember, electrical work should only be performed by qualified individuals who are familiar with the NEC and local codes. Improperly installed electrical wiring can create a significant risk of fire, electrical shock, and other hazards. Therefore, it is essential to take electrical safety seriously and to follow all applicable codes and regulations. Furthermore, the advancements in technology are also leading to the development of new types of low-voltage cables and connectors. It is important to stay up to date with these advancements and to use the appropriate materials for the specific application. For example, there are now shielded C8T5 cables that are designed to reduce interference from electromagnetic fields. These cables may be required in certain environments where there is a high level of electromagnetic noise. In addition to the physical separation of high and low voltage wiring, it is also important to consider the grounding of electrical systems. Proper grounding can help to prevent electrical shock and can also protect equipment from damage due to surges or other electrical disturbances. The National Electrical Code contains detailed requirements for grounding electrical systems, and it is important to follow these requirements carefully. It is also important to regularly inspect and maintain electrical systems. This includes checking for loose connections, damaged wiring, and other potential problems. Regular maintenance can help to prevent electrical hazards and can also extend the life of electrical equipment. If you are unsure about any aspect of electrical safety, it is always best to consult with a qualified electrician. An electrician can provide expert advice and can help to ensure that your electrical installations are safe and compliant with all applicable codes and standards. Electrical safety is not just a matter of following codes and regulations. It is also a matter of common sense and good judgment. Always be aware of the potential hazards and take steps to protect yourself and others. By working together, we can create a safer electrical environment for everyone. In conclusion, the separation of low voltage and high voltage wiring is a critical safety measure that is required by the National Electrical Code. This separation helps to prevent electrical shock, fire, and other hazards. By following the NEC and all other applicable codes and regulations, you can help to ensure the safety and reliability of electrical installations. Always consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns about electrical safety.